Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Threesome FPL podcast. Yes, hello there. I'm Phil. This is the Fantasy Threesome FPL podcast, and I am here with Mike. How are you, Mike?
Well, hello there. Yeah, good, thank you. Still a little bit cross about one or two things that have happened with my team, but yeah, on the whole, life's good, thank you.
Good. Now we've got no Anthony today because it's his birth. Well, it was his birthday on Saturday, so he's got the week off. So just us two here, which is just as well because it's that early stage of the season where Ant tends to do well. I assume he's beating. Well, he can't be behind me. It's been a fun start to the fantasy football season for me.
No, well, he's not behind you, but where is he? Oh yeah, he's just above me at this moment in time. But of course, we're recording this prior to a Pedro Porro hat trick, so.
Yeah, Pedro Porro. So me and you got Pedro Porro and Solanke tonight. We're recording on Monday. Ant's got Solanke and Son.
Yeah.
So we had to listen. I had to do the test listen to this on the way to our holiday last week because I usually like to do a test listen in case the audio is even worse than it actually ends up being. And we're listening to it, and Ant said he was having Son in his team, and Holly, my wife, turned around and said, "Does he mean Son?" Love it. So that was good. But yeah, so
Another bit of feedback. Another bit of feedback from my godson, Hal, who was in the car with his dad, Harry, off of the Chip Advisor podcast that we do, who said something along the lines of, "By golly, Daddy, they don't half take it seriously." Yeah, apparently.
He'll learn. We don't.
Yeah, we don't.
So we set out. We had three quite different teams last week, and mine stayed pretty much the same, except that I bought in Mikalenko for Robinson, which was bad news. I went budget at the back, and it was a week where if you went big at the back, you got a lot of points.
Yeah.
So I'm sat here on 45 points at the moment, which isn't a great feeling. Hopefully with Solanke and Porro, I can hit 50, but it's been a slow start to the season, and I really am feeling the pain of double Everton defence. And in hindsight, if I'd have known or realised that Branthwaite was injured and they were going to have to play, what's his name at the back? Michael Keane, then I maybe wouldn't have gone double Everton at the back. But, you know, you live, you learn. But so I've got Pickford, Mikalenko, and Quansah, who we'll no doubt talk about, all on 1 point at the back with Pedro Porro to join them. So not great at all. Captain Haaland, not Salah, because Haaland was on TV and Salah wasn't on TV that I could watch. So yeah, how's your week gone? You're close to me.
One of those where both those big premium hits came good for folk, and I had neither. So little disappointing. Don't worry though, because I captain Isaac and he got an assist. Oh, hold on. No, for some inexplicable reason, my captain was on Ollie Watkins. I've got no idea how that happened. Absolutely no idea. But there we go. It was an okay week. Look, at the back it worked. So Raya got me 8 points. Trent got me 8. Gabriel got me 6. And then as we move forward, it gets a little more disappointing. So Jota got me 8. I swapped him out for Diaz because I was just nervous about rumours circling of Diaz going to Man City. So I thought, I'm not going to get caught up in all this. I'll swap him out at the last. Fernandez 3, Eze 2, Gordon 3, Isaac 5, Watkins 4. The bench was looking reasonable though. Semenyo got me 8 on the bench and Gavardiol got me 6. And that is the slight frustration with the depth of squad that I've got, is that every week I am going to look at my bench and that potentially there'll be players that I'll have wished I'd started. But what I'm hoping that means is, and this is a fresh approach from me, no major transfer work needed. So at the moment, the only way that I'd make transfers is to try and get Haaland, because Haaland at home to Ipswich just feels like an absolute gimme, and I'm going to spend the whole of that match just sort of hid behind the sofa.
Well, luckily for you, as I was looking at potential captains before we came on, the Man City game is a 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday, so it's not on TV over here in the UK. So that makes it a bit better because you wouldn't be watching it. Whereas I've got the problem that I'm torn on whether to captain him and not watch it, or Salah and watch that on the Sunday afternoon against Brentford.
Okay. Well, let's see. Why don't we work our way through those fixtures, shall we?
Well, should we look back at the fixtures that have just happened and then discuss anything that we've learned?
Okay. Well, let's start with the first game then, that Friday night, Man United Fulham. I had Fernandes and was frustrated by how poor he was. Playing in sort of a 9 rather than a 10, which was interesting. A lack of an out-and-out striker.
But he had 2 or 3 good chances for goals or assists. So in a way, like the pick is right. I mean, that was a weird game, wasn't it? Because United were dominant in patches, and then you had Garnacho, which a lot of people have gone for Garnacho. He came on as a sub rather than starting, and then he missed an open goal where Rashford squared it to him.
He did. He got the assist, didn't he?
He got the assist for Xerxes, but the bit of United that I would explore a bit more. I know it's only Fulham at home, but they've got defenders there that have come in. I was impressed with Mazraoui. I'm going to call him Mazraoui. Who knows? But I was impressed with him. He's only 4.5 million on the game, and United's fixtures moving forward are Brighton, Liverpool, Southampton, Palace, Spurs. He looked decent. He looked like a good player. I can't claim to know loads about him, but he looked decent, and he's 4.5 million.
And will be their starting right back from the looks of it. So yeah.
So he impressed me. Garnacho was a worry because coming on as a sub isn't what you want. Rashford, I was umming and ahhing about up until the last minute, but his confidence is shot, isn't it? And the United fans get on his back quite a lot, especially at home. So 7 million. I think he played most of the game, if not all of it.
I would the one player that caught my eye was Diallo. Now he's only 5 million in the game, and he was on some of their set pieces. When it wasn't Bruno, it was him. So he was taking quite a few of their set pieces, and you look at the bench for United. Garnacho aside, there wasn't an awful lot of competition in terms of his role. So be interested to see if he gets a run. He's certainly on my watch list.
Yeah, absolutely. Him. I mean, United. Don't forget, it was against Fulham, who have lost their best player to Bayern Munich. So that's a sort of caveat here. I was impressed with the potential on budget picks wise. Amad Diallo, 5 million, like you say. I was impressed with, actually, I thought Mason Mount played all right, 6.5 million. I'm not going there, don't panic, but I think he did all right. And it's a classic situation with Casemiro, right? He's got 0.6% ownership in the game. He's 5 million, but he gets on the end of so many set pieces. He should have scored a couple, I reckon, in that game.
Yeah. Well, he's another one that needs a good run of games, really, and you never know. You might start to see the 2020 version of him. You never know.
Yeah, Maguire was dominant in the air and stuff, and he actually drove forward United when they looked like they were in a slump in that game. Personally, I think he played all right, but I'm sure there'll be United fans who disagree. Xerxes came on, so United didn't start with a striker, which was a bit weird because they bought one and then benched him.
Very difficult man to age, Xerxes.
I know he's got the physique, and in the nicest possible way, he's got the physique of me. just slightly overweight, but nothing dramatic. And I'm happy with my life, and I hope he is with him. But I think after a few games, he'll trim up a bit. I think he'll be a bit faster.
Well, it's not his first time playing football.
No, I know. I don't. He's got a weird physique, hasn't he?
Yeah, the whole look. I couldn't quite age him.
Yeah.
Could be 19, could be 34. Got no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go. Should we move on to the next? Otherwise, we'll be here all day.
Yeah. I hear you, but you're not tempted by him. You don't think he'll get a start next week against Brighton?
No, not for me, Clive.
So Fulham-wise, a lot of us fell for Emile Smith-Rowe, and he got 3 points because he got subbed off before they conceded. Adama Traore, I mean, he was rolling back the years in the first sort of half hour of that game.
Adama Traore brought us everything you would hope for an Adama Traore performance. He was oiled up. He was making lung-busting runs down the wing, and then he was skewing it out of play.
Correct. Yeah. On numerous occasions you thought that is a great run. Just square it. Oh no, he can't. He hasn't learned to square it yet. He's just okay. So he's 5 million on the game for those who are interested, and he got 77 minutes against United. But he's playing Leicester and he's playing Ipswich next, and then West Ham, and none of those games I feel are his sort of game. United away is perfect for him, counter attack, but I imagine Fulham will be expected to attack against Leicester and Ipswich, so you may end up with different players out there. I was impressed with Robinson. I was frustratingly impressed with him because I took him out of my team. But Robinson in defence, he was up and down that wing. He's got 9% ownership on the game, Robinson from Fulham.
I think if you look at the 4.5 million picks, we've just referenced one in terms of the new right back at United, but
Azraoui.
Well, I'm not convinced that's the pronunciation, and that's why I've avoided it. But yeah, I of the 4.5s, he'd be in my top 3 or 4 for sure.
Yeah, okay. So Fulham have got some good fixtures coming on. Would you hold Smith-Rowe if you had him?
Yeah, I think it's you can't judge it on one game and one game away at Old Trafford. I think he'll need time. He's gone a long time without playing regular football.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll need time to rub off some of that rust. But no, I like Smith-Rowe at 5.5. I think he's a good enabler.
Historically, I've done a game week 2 wildcard, but this time I've talked myself into just being patient. And you look at I mean, I may well take a -4 this week just because I have no Arsenal, and I'm a bit worried about that. The simplistic side of fantasy football is that Arsenal were a good team, therefore have some Arsenal players, and I haven't got any. And
I don't think this is the weekend that you need to bring Arsenal players in. They're away at Villa. I don't say, if you're going to do a -4 to get Arsenal in, I would just sit tight and store up a couple of transfers.
I can't believe I'm taking that advice from you, but I hear you and you're probably correct. Right. So Saturday's games then, let's move on to them because like you say, we'll be here all day. Obviously we had Ipswich, Liverpool.
Yeah, and frustrating. I thought Salah was a spent force. I was pretty convinced that the hair going was going to have the Samson effect, and I felt like he's not getting any younger. Will he have the same impact that he has had? Well, the answer on this outing is yes, he will. And then actually, they're very much playing to his strengths. So there were a lot of long balls over the top, up the wing to Salah, and yeah, he was very much the outlet for them. The first half, they didn't show a lot, but that's often the way in the first game of the season. Second half, they clicked into gear. Worrying just how much emphasis they seem to be putting on him.
Yeah, they did. Everything kind of went through him. Jota, because you got Jota to kind of cover off the Salah points, right? And
Yeah.
so you got Jota plus 5 million, whereas I got Salah, and that 5 million would have, if I'd spread that across my defense, would have got me more than the price difference, more than the points difference between Jota and Salah, that's for sure. So I still don't think it's a bad route to go down. If Jota's starting up front, which he looks to be, then I see no issues there. Darwin didn't play any minutes at all, did he?
No, he didn't. I mean, their bench is pretty phenomenal. I'm gonna put it out there. Everyone's talking about Arsenal, Man City. I think Liverpool could win the league this season. Just listen to this bench: Conor Bradley, Harvey Elliott, Endo, Gakpo, Curtis Jones. Sorry.
Me and Mrs. Jeans.
Kelleher, Konate, Nunes, and Shimikas.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's been too long. Can you cue me up one more time?
Nunes and Shimikas. Yeah, it's been a while.
But it has been a while. A bit rusty.
Every single one of those players. I mean, you put that lot of subs there. You got a team there that's probably going to finish Europa League.
Yeah,
just on the bench.
Yeah, it is pretty decent. They've got a good squad together there, and I think the slight worry I have, and a lot of other people, I put a thing out on the Twitter that's called X these days. I put a thing out saying who are the players that people are worried about in their team after Saturday's games, and the overriding winner was someone I owned as well, Jarell Quansah, part of the rhyming double up of Quansah and Quansah, who got pulled at half time. And it would have been better to hear that he had a slight niggle, but it literally was, he wasn't playing well enough, therefore he got subbed, which is good if you're a Liverpool fan. You've got a proactive manager, but in fantasy football, you could do with some sort of consistency. And what do you do with Quansah now? You're going to be double guessing it and assuming Konate's a place in the starting lineup against Brentford, aren't you?
Yeah, if you need to make a change, then we just spoke about Anthony Robinson at 4.5. You look at their fixtures coming up, and they're not too shabby. They play Leicester at home, Ipswich away, West Ham at home. The next three. So
the issue is we've us small at the back managers have got the issue that we've also got Mikalenko, who I need to find a way out from, and pretty quickly. Yeah,
well,
we'll get to Everton. But so everything kind of went through Salah in that game. Ipswich wise, Leif Davis had a good game. You did call it last week.
I did. He was one of their most creative outlets. I don't think that's going to change. McKenna's got a way of setting them up, and that didn't look like he'd changed it massively from the way they were operating in the Championship. So, I still think he at 4.5 is right up there in terms of one of the picks people should have. He's in my squad. He won't start for the first few because they've got tricky fixtures, but thereafter, I'll definitely be using him.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, shall we move on away from that to the next game, which was Arsenal Wolves? Pretty convincing as a 2-0 win. Wolves are in a world of trouble. They need to sign some players. They can't keep selling their best players and hoping things will change. But Arsenal look dominant. Saka looks, as a non-Saka owner, he looks up for it this year.
Yeah, he looked good. As did Havertz. Havertz at 8.5 up front there. Not many people going through, I don't think, in terms of when you're looking around at Watkins and Isaac and alike. I think he's lesser owned than the two of those, certainly in the same sort of price point. He looked very impressive and looks like he's sort of nailed down that centre forward spot. But Saka was good. They look very, very solid defensively, and that last season actually kept more clean sheets away from home than they did home. So if that continues, happy days, because their run at home is really good. Their run away is a bit tricky in this first 10 weeks. But yeah, I've got Gabriel myself and Raya. I'm and ahed about whether Calafiori was going to come in for Gabriel. He didn't. Sounds like most likely he'd actually be starting at left back in place of Zinchenko if he comes in. So yeah, we'll see. You don't change a winning team though, do you?
Well, this is the question, because as someone who was eyeing up Martinelli before the kickoff, that sort of 6.57 million slot in my team is certainly open for debate. I didn't go on Kunku, but I did go for Doku and Gordon. So Doku, we'll get onto that, but Gordon flattered to deceive. And I know they had 10 men for most of that game, but I don't know.
It's interesting. Martinelli played for full 90, so you would expect him and as last season, him and Trossard would interchange, but actually that wasn't the case this time around. So yeah, be interesting to see how that.
Trossard came on, but only for 10 minutes, and I couldn't honestly tell you who he came on for. But
Saka.
Was it Saka? Was it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting, and I think Martinelli at 7 million is a bargain. I just got to try and shoehorn him in. But maybe, like you say, they've got Villa this week, so maybe just hold fire. Don't panic. Don't panic into decisions. Wolves, happy to move on if you are for now. Jose Sarr's 4.5 million at the back in goal, but I don't see much from Wolves that's made me so far want to consider them. They've got tricky fixtures as well, so we can move on to the next game if you want.
Yeah, let's. All the fun of the fair down at Goodison Park. Everton 0, Brighton 3.
Yeah. Pickford and Mikalenko in my defence. Go Pickford. He makes funny facial expressions in the Euros. That isn't a reason to pick a player. Yeah. Pickford or Pope was the decision to make, and made the wrong one. But the huge issue for Everton, because generally with Everton, it's defensive assets you're looking at. Calvert-Lewin's so injury prone. If Michael Keane is playing in defence, they look so open. You've got Ashley Young, who was started, is now banned. He's 38, 39, Ashley Young now, and he got sent off. 39, wow, same as me. And there's hope for all of us still. But really, their defence looked. I mean, did you see the highlights of that game?
Yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah. I mean, Brighton, who, to be fair, a lot of us going into the season, myself included, thought, I'm not sure about Brighton this year, without De Zerbi. They tore them apart. Matoma looked beautiful. He looked brilliant.
Best, wasn't he?
Oh, I love to see it. Yeah. Again, another 6.5 million. This is a problem. There's good options around. And of course, one of the week's highest scorers, Danny Welbeck. 12-pointer from Danny.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Brighton then briefly. But before we do, 15.1% ownership on Pickford. Gotta have a few people there maybe rethinking their plans.
Hello.
Brighton. One of the big shocks for me was Barco didn't start. There was a real clamour for him. He looked really good in pre-season. Was starting every game, but then was dropped for this one. I think replaced by Van Heck.
What the Van Heck? Yeah.
What the Van Heck? I liked Minty from named after the mechanic in EastEnders, who later went on to be in Call the Midwife. But he went off injured, so he's definitely one I'll be keeping an eye on. He was very impressive prior to limping off.
He was good. He was good in Call the Midwife. Actually, he was good in Call the Midwife.
Very likable.
I've only seen a few episodes, but very likable man.
Christmas? Sorry? Presumably just the Christmas ones.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Just on an interesting note. So Everton transfers in after that game where they lost 3-0. their two most transferred in players, the number one is Michael Keane. He's 4 million on the game, and that is why.
That is why.
So you have got a starting defender for Everton at 4 million. They have got Spurs next week.
I'm not convinced you have got a starting defender because they bought in O'Brien from Lyon. He's very, very highly rated, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him take Keane's place come this week.
Isn't it funny, and isn't it a Sean Dyche thing that Everton signed someone from Lyon and he's called Jake? Yeah, just weird.
Yeah.
Neil Maupay has, not played a single minute, and he's their fourth most transferred in player this week. But maybe people know stuff that we don't. But maybe. Yeah, very odd. But yeah, Michael Keane is 4 million. So there are some people jumping on that. Branthwaite's out for a while at least, good 3-4 weeks, I think. So yeah, I wouldn't be going there. But Brighton, there's a lot of value in that Brighton team, and Danny Welbeck's 5.5 million. You had a lot of people going João Pedro, who
not a fan of João Pedro.
No, nor me. I like his newer hair. It's longer, it's better. I like that. But you've got Danny Welbeck's 5.5. Lewis Dunk's a classic FPL asset, and he's only 4.5 this season, so he's dropped 500,000. So
there are so many better options at 4.5 than Brighton. I wouldn't be looking at Brighton.
Veltman, I think, is decent. He gets up and down, but they've got a couple of tricky fixtures up next. They've got Man United and Arsenal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in a hurry. Okay. Talking of 4.5 million defenders, one that I ummed and ahed about and was talking up, Livramento.
Yeah. Newcastle won, Saints nil.
He was in amongst the bonus points, was Livramento. 7 for him, the highest scoring defender. There are a few bookings handed out. So Burn and Hall, both at the back, at both also 4.5. They dropped to 5 points. Disappointment for me in this one was Anthony Gordon. It's one game. Can't really, read too much into it, but he was pulled at 69 minutes.
That's the worry with Gordon, is that Harvey Barnes is a very good replacement. So he's always likely to have slightly reduced minutes. Yeah. He did well last season. I mean, Gordon had a great season last year, and you can't really take that into account after one game. You can't, the fact he got subbed off last year. He got 11 goals and 16 assists. So he will come good. He's owned by 25% of the players on the game, but I don't know. I just think he's 7.5 million, and there's a lot of I mean, those stats last year, you'd keep him at 7.5 million if he repeated that this year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
But 4.5 million defenders, you got Burn, Livramento, and Hall all started.
Yeah. Hall and Gordon came off on 69. So I would suggest that Burn is likely to play the full 90. Livramento, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him, share minutes with Trippier. So, tricky one. I did enjoy Sugawara coming on for Southampton at half-time.
Who, sorry?
Sugawara.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'm quite sweet on him.
Lovely.
Yeah. It was the Ben Brereton Diaz show, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Pantomime villain and all that.
But look, I keep an eye on him because 5.5 mil, he's a striker. He's what's the equivalent of a wolf in sheep's clothing? He's a striker in midfielder's clothing.
He is, but he did miss an absolute sitter in that game.
He did. He was. Do you know? He's a bit like Adam Armstrong, who also, ironically, is at Southampton, in that he scored handfuls of goals for Blackburn in the Championship. Both those players were prolific in the Championship with Blackburn, and both have gone to Saints. Diaz. I think we talked about it last week. Had a spell over in Spain where it didn't go so well. Played 12, scored none. But so maybe he needs his confidence building up. I'm not sure the Premier League is necessarily the place to build your confidence back up, but yeah, we'll see. One to watch, I think. Any striker that's down as a 5.5 midfielder and is starting, you got to be considering. And on that note, if I can just flip back to Ipswich, Sammy Schmodix, for some reason I don't understand, is down as a midfielder at Ipswich.
Yes.
And was top scorer in the Championship last season in a very poor Blackburn team. So continuing that theme, that's beautiful tie-in. 6 million as a midfielder. You could potentially there have 11.5 across two strikers, but they're down as midfielders.
Yeah, you're right. But they are strikers at Southampton and Ipswich, which at the moment doesn't seem like fun. The Newcastle wise, obviously you had Cher get sent off for the incident with Diaz, which means Burn is, nailed on to start at the back now. But it does make their defence a lot weaker. They held out well, to be fair, for a very long time. They played that game with 10 men and actually looked better after the goal went in. But Isak got the assist, but obviously we'll see probably more of what he can do against Bournemouth this weekend.
Every chance.
Talking of Bournemouth, the wood chopper.
That guy is on fire. He's on fire. He scored 16. He scored 16 goals in the last 21 matches.
Yeah, he is full of confidence, isn't he? 6 million.
6 million. What's Forest's run like?
It's not terrible, though.
Go on.
Oh, well, I haven't got it for you. I'm just telling you it's not terrible. I haven't told you it's great.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, they've got Southampton, Wolves, Liverpool, Brighton, Fulham.
Well, there's only one there that would really worry me, and that's the Liverpool. So
yeah, and you can get, obviously save some money on Big Dom. We don't know how he's going to do tonight. I'd like to think he'll get a hat-trick. But if Solanke, needs some time to bed in at Spurs, then there's every chance, because Spurs have got Everton next week. I don't really want to get Solanke gone before he plays that Everton defence, actually. But after that Everton game, Spurs then play Newcastle and Arsenal. So I could get rid of Solanke then and save some money on the wood chopper.
You could. Semenyo, 8 points out of my bench. Lovely stuff. Played through the middle. In reality, he probably won't play through the middle a great deal longer because we've got Evan Nilsson who's coming. We'll see there. Yates came on.
Evan Nilsson got a price yet?
Let's have a look, shall we?
I thought it was interesting that Kluivert didn't start, which was a bit of a weird one. I can't see Evan Nilsson on the game currently.
No, he's not on there yet, and I'm not really sure why. Come on, FPL, sort it out.
Yeah, bit of a weird one, but he'll be there. So Forest looked good in patches there. Chris Wood, 6 million. We know what you're going to get from the wood chopper.
There's no standouts, though, are there? In Forest, there's no player that makes you sort of think, oh yeah, I should definitely be getting on board that.
There's players which I love to watch, like Murillo, but I don't think asset-wise, Forest are a great team to own lots of players from.
Tell me they've got a chant to the tune of "Is this the way to Murillo?"
They must do it, and I resisted, but you went there.
They must have. Yeah. All right then. West Ham Villa, a bit of a topsy-turvy game. This one. Who stood out for you? Interesting that Paqueta with no Ward-Prowse starting was on pens.
Yeah, it was weird not having Ward-Prowse start. West Ham looked like, if you wouldn't be surprised if David Moyes had managed that game. Nothing had changed really. The way they played, the way they set up was very much David Moyes' style. I thought Kudus looked very good.
Yeah, kudos to him for sure. Yeah. Was a little way down on the bonus points, but But yeah, in terms of the eye test, was involved in everything good they did going forward.
Yeah, I thought he was very dangerous. Bowen had a bit, one of his quieter games. Antonio, you're not going to have him in most weeks because he's going to rotate a lot with Fulkrug. Danny Ings, who my daughter insisted on captaining again, came on for his traditional one-pointer. They didn't start some of the bigger signings. Wan-Bissaka's going to be in there, isn't he? He's 4.5 million. Yeah. And I think he'll do a good job at West Ham. But I'm not convinced with Lopetegui. I think it's a bit hype. Souček, 5 million budget midfielder on the end of a lot of set pieces again. Should have scored a goal in that game. Villa, Villa-wise, interesting.
I don't mind the look of Tielemans at 5.5.
Yeah, he was quite advanced the other day, and Morgan Rogers at 5 stayed on the whole game.
He did. Yeah. Lopetegui seeing something we as Bournemouth fans didn't see.
Lopetegui doesn't manage Aston Villa. Unai Emery does, but you're right.
You're absolutely right. But Lopetegui was glowing in his praise post-match for the opposition.
Lovely. I thought it was a weird situation there that you had Duran come on. Don't buy him. You had Duran come on, who previously thought he had signed for West Ham and was doing like all the Hammers signs with his arms. And then he apologised to the West Ham fans when he scored, even though he's never played for them and is definitely still contracted to Aston Villa.
No, he was apologising to the Aston Villa fans for doing the socials and saying, sorry, I'm staying here, pointing to the ground. But that is the worst ground to do that, to make that gesture.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Very weird. The whole situation was odd. Matty Cash got a start, which surprised me, and so did Digne. I thought Konsa might play on the right, but he didn't. All of those are 4.5 million defenders. Watkins got pulled, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, my captain.
He looked sluggish. He just got you 61 minutes. It could have been 2 points less.
I know. Yeah, difficult with the defence of Villa because I think there could be a bit of rotation there. You've got some good depth. I think Moreno could easily come in for Digne. I mean, you potentially, there's all sorts of options that he's got at the back.
But moving forward,
came on, looked hungry like the wolf, didn't he, Duran?
Next game was Brentford versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Now I saw that Eze had a worldie of a free kick. I can only imagine that the Twitter community was furious with this because a lot of people had Eze in their teams. So, right. I mean, it's a great free kick. It got ruled out because Will Hughes was tussling with someone in the box, which was largely irrelevant to the goal. But
I can stop you there, Phil. What did you call the Crystal Palace player just then?
Eze?
No, Will
Hughes.
Yeah, you cannot pronounce the G. As I found, I remember we had a player who's now director of football at Liverpool, Richard Hughes.
Yeah.
Cannot pronounce the G. There was a very large, rotund, middle-aged man with not a lot of hair who came clambering down the stands at AFC Bournemouth when I was in my early years as an announcer, and I was calling him Richard Hughes. He was absolutely furious about it. Richard Hughes.
Really? Well, actually, the Crystal Palace player, he likes to be known as Will Huggies, but I didn't go there because I didn't want to cause controversy, but fine. So, yeah, that was a weird one. Palace were a bit hard done by not to get anything out of that game. Interestingly, obviously, Tony didn't play, and then you had Mbeumo, who was on my wife's bench. You had Mbeumo come in and score, look dangerous, doing Mbeumo things. I was surprised Brentford won that game, but they played obviously well enough to win. Palace, I wouldn't be put off just yet. A lot of people have got Palace assets. It's only one game.
I made a big thing last season about the fact that when Tony doesn't play, Wissa scores.
Yep.
We did it again yesterday. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Flecken as well made 6 saves. Now, in seasons gone by, that would have got you some bonus points, but you're getting less bonus points now for saves.
But you still got, your 4 points if you had Flecken.
4 points. But yeah, you could have got some added bonus points there, but missed out. Just missed out. There we go. Okay, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Phil. No, sorry, Chelsea, Man City.
Right. So here's my advice. If you've got any Chelsea players, get rid. I mean, who knows who's going to be playing week to week? They've got
hold on. You including Palmer in that?
Well, if he keeps playing on the wing, yes. It was weird. He 10.5 million for someone who's playing on the wing, and he was quite obviously you're playing against City, so you got to caveat that. And he is most likely the number one player on the team sheet. Goalkeeper wise, I don't know what they're doing. We gave Ant dogged abuse for having, Sanchez on his bench last week, but he started for Chelsea somehow.
Yes, he did.
They got 40 odd players that they've got to choose a team from week to week. It's all going to kick off. All this Sterling's come out, hasn't he, saying I feel disrespected. I don't know what's going on. I'm looking for answers.
I'd say grow up, Raheem.
And Kunku subbed off 58 minutes. That's lovely, 1-pointer. But I just don't know who's going to be playing week to week. They played 3 holding midfielders. They played Caicedo, Enzo, and Lavia. Enzo, they played him slightly advanced, but they played, and if he's going to play Enzo advanced at 5 million, great. They've got Wolves next and then Palace and Bournemouth. But, I mean, they made so many subs. Most of your team is going to be subbed off or subbed on during a game if you've got Chelsea assets. That's my worry. I don't want that. I want players that are going to be as close to guaranteed a full 90 as possible.
Yeah,
Mudryk did get a look in. Yeah, what's going on there? Cucurella, he played all right, but then got slammed by Haaland in an interview. But yeah, Cucurella, he's the only one I'd really look at, assuming that, well, they've said, haven't they, that the left back, what's his name?
Alonso.
No, Alonso. Oh, now we're talking FPL assets. No, Chilwell. They've said Chilwell can leave.
Yeah.
They're not interested. So it looks like he's nailed down that position as Cucurella. But Chelsea, I don't know. I would be avoiding, even though they've got good fixtures, because you just don't know who's going to play.
Yeah, just stall on Chelsea for now. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, Man City
should go out pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, 58 minute. You don't want a player who's only playing 2/3 of each game.
Yeah. City, Gvardiol was 1 bonus point away from getting bonus points, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kovacic picked up the 3, Haaland the 2, and Ederson 1. But Gvardiol, followed by Akanji, were next in line. Yeah, I mean, Bernardo got the assist at 6.5 million. He's tried and tested with Pep. Depends who's going to play furthest forward. Really tends to make a bit of a difference. You tend to see players with Pep, certainly on the assist front, go through really streaky patches. So, Rodri had a run where he was playing more advanced. Bernardo did. Foden then did. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, maybe Kovacic will be that bad. I doubt it, but you never know. The 11-point haul for Kovacic this week. Rico Lewis is one that's interesting. Only 4.5 million. And Pep was glowing in his praise for him after the game.
He was, but we know with Pep, he can be glowing and then drop him for weeks on end. They've got Walker to come back, It's a short-term thing. It's a bit of a punt. And I feel at this stage of the season, you don't want punty picks.
What I would do is keep him on your watch list. Get to game week 7. I mean, a bit of forward planning here, but get to game week 7, and if he's still in amongst it, he's got Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton in a little row of 5. So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on that. 4.5, you can't ignore that. So keep your eyes peeled on Rico.
So then you also had who I'm going to refer to as Man City's Adama Traore in Doku, who I was watching with keen interest as an owner. And on several occasions, he showed good pace, good strength, got in great positions, and then fluffed his lines with the last ball. And you just think, Jeremy.
Proven already that there is more to his game than that. I think he's certainly a much more complete player than Traore is. Because if Traore was, he wouldn't be at Man City if he wasn't. They have
Grealish is fit. Grealish was fit enough for the bench, so whether Grealish comes in against Ipswich because he might be able to pick apart the defence a bit better than Doku, I'm not sure, but I'll probably keep Doku in this week.
Okay.
And hope he starts. But yeah, they had Foden came on for Savio, who is injured, so assuming Foden therefore starts next week.
I would think so. Again, another one I'd really like to have in my side. Maybe that's the route I go. Maybe I look at upgrading one of my midfielders. That's an easier win than trying to get Haaland in.
Because what attackers do you have from City? None. Yeah.
My only City asset is Cavadio.
Yeah, okay. Who will be quite attacking, I imagine, this week.
Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Foden in that side. Anyway, let's see. There concludes the fixtures up until Leicester Spurs tonight. Time is of the essence, so should we have a very quick look at the fixtures coming up?
Yep. Yeah, you go for it.
Just rattle them off then. So your Saturday looks like this. Lunchtime kickoff, Brighton play Man United. Crystal Palace, West Ham. Fulham, Leicester. So 3 games there that are fairly evenly matched, do you think? Then you've got Man City, Ipswich, which looks like sort of, the home banker. Southampton against Forest. Spurs at home to Everton. I mean, anything could happen there.
Yeah.
And then you've got Villa playing Arsenal at 5:30. Jump forward to the Sunday. 3 games on the Sunday. Bournemouth take on Newcastle. Wolves play Chelsea. And Liverpool play Brentford. So the obvious 3, I guess, there in terms of assets that you might want to be looking to secure with this game week specifically in mind are Liverpool at home to Brentford, Spurs at home to Everton, and Man City at home to Ipswich.
Yeah, I'd quite like old Son. Yeah.
Do you?
I'd quite like Son against Everton. Just running.
He's one that I'm going to spend for, just like Salah.
So just so you know, Monday lunchtime before Spurs have played, you're claiming Son's a spent force. Yes. Great.
I look forward to the stupendous performance tonight. Phil, we need to go. So we'll not quiz it, but let's make it very, very clear that next week I'll be excluded from having my captain pick because my punt came in. It's a player of 2% ownership or less.
Yeah.
Who we think is going to do well this week. I had Martinez from Man United who kept himself a clean sheet. Phil flirted with Matoma, but then made the choice of
Harvey Elliott, who got no minutes, which is a shame because Matoma should really come off my bench for thinking of him. You should get points. You should get points for flirting. That's my motto.
No. So next week I'll not be having my captain picked.
Well, who's your punt? Who's going to be your punt next week?
I'm unsure really. Let's have a quick look. I'm thinking of going Spurs if I can find somebody with low enough ownership. That's going to be the key. Let's have a quick look.
Yeah. I'll be going probably Livramento away at Bournemouth.
Okay, I'm going to go Brennan Johnson and hope he gets a run out at some point.
Oh, I'm taking it all back. I'm going Danny Welbeck. He's available. Obviously, I should go for Danny Welbeck. He'll not let me down.
Okay. All right. Well, look. I look forward to having Ant back and the threesome reunited in all its glory next week.
Yeah, the normal format with quizzes and a bit more fun added in. Hopefully, it feels very serious today. Very serious. Very uncomfortable with that. But I can't control the buttons and stuff if Anthony's not here to lead and steady the ship.
It's been grade A content.
That's your opinion, right? Well, have a good game week 2, everyone, and we'll see you for game week 3. Take care.
Cheers, gang.